Tebow said they admitted string theory does not work and has been dropped as a unified field theory. And I wonder who admitted that, and did someone tell Michio Kaku? Because that con man still appears to believe in it.
Yeah.
It's all he's got to keep those checks from History Channel or Discovery Channel coming in.
That and the hopes of a larger Hadron Collider.
Yeah, a bigger one will prove it even more that it doesn't exist. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get into arguments with people saying even if there's more secrets left in the universe, the early discoveries resulted in practical products and experiences. So what if you find an even smaller muon or some God particle? What are you going to do with it? And then
right.
Then there's that whole notion of exploration. Why do you climb that mountain? Because it's there. But at least you can see the mountain. But yeah, I think particle physics is in trouble.
Oh, absolutely, and it's a century, of course, century of track. But that luckily is not for us to deal with. Dark King says, Andre, we want to stop crayon use. So yeah, okay, fine. Maybe don't go back to the drawing board, but at the very and why do we want to stop crayon use?
I don't know. Crayons are great.
Yeah. And I did a video on using the crayon analogy in terms of how to, you work with diversity rules.
Yeah.
And also,
the greatest philosophers wrote in crayon. So the crayon thing is not working. You just stick with like a 3-year-old. That's fine.
And also, 3-year-olds that use crayons, maybe they learn some tactile use of their hands and stuff so that they can fix shit later in life. Which was one of the more astute points of this week's South Park episode, or South Park special, Into the Panderverse, which, of course, we are most interested in the Disney and South Park bits of it. Sorry, the Disney and Kathleen Kennedy bits of it, but it had some larger messages.
It almost felt like I could have wrote the whole episode, actually. But yeah,
I thought Kathleen
bitching about how people don't know shit. I do too, to a point, Paul. I thought there was going to be a bit of a twist at the end there, but we'll get into that.
That was the twist. Yeah. I think that was the twist. I also thought that with all the Kathleen stuff, my only concern was that's really inside baseball.
Yeah.
I don't know how inside baseball it is anymore.
I don't know. My tweet took the fuck off.
But so far, we know that the 4 of us, we have seen it. We don't know how many of you 1,200 watching right now have seen it. So Script, can you do us a favor? Can you give us a brief summary? What was the South Park special Into the Panderverse about? There will be spoilers here, but just give us a breakdown. What was the storylines in this episode?
Actually, the theme of this episode was that people are so lazy they don't want to learn how to do things well. So and on their own accord. That's the theme, and it was brilliantly done. I think, regardless of the Kathleen Kennedy jokes, I think the whole Randy storyline was way better, far funnier, way more clever than the actual pandering stuff that Cartman was going through. And if you are a South Park fan, yes, it continues the trope that Cartman is the reason behind all of this.
Yeah, but for those that haven't seen it, what was Randy's storyline? What happened there?
Randy was very disappointed that his children don't know how to do anything, and he decided to instruct them how he's going to fix the oven door. And by doing so, instead of fixing it himself, he calls a handyman, but the handyman is very busy because, just like Randy's fears, nobody knows how to do anything, so they get tons of work.
But this all ties into the Panderverse script. That's why it's important, because...
Dude, you completely ignored what I said, which is that even on the studio side of things, nobody knows how to do anything. That's why the theme is nobody has learned how to do anything.
Exactly. They're all being lazy because no one knows to do. No one knows how to.
Never mind. You were saying that the other part was better, but I'm saying it all ties together at the end, though.
Exactly.
Well, there's way better jokes on the Randy side of things.
Oh yeah.
The Kathleen Kennedy side of thing is shooting fish in a barrel. Like, there's nothing creative about it at all.
Yeah, it's basically the same storyline. How people can't do anything, just applied to different level. On the Disney side, it was in the
It was
at
creatively.
studios. You have
Yeah.
the likes of Kathleen Kennedy that basically do the same shit over and over, but with more pandering. Make them a female, lesbian, and just overall lamer. Whereas the equivalent on the more popular side is, yeah, can't do anything. You go get a useless degree, but you can't do anything.
The other part too is the Pandaverse was essentially like, I would say, works on a parallel to the smartphone in a sense. Like you're just doing stuff on the smartphone. You're relying on the AI to do and solve all the questions you have. I think it was really funny and really well done.
Yeah, yeah, I think it was quite clever as well. But so that's the larger theme of the episode. And what also happened here is that Cartman, he's having these dreams of everyone around him being replaced, courtesy of Kathleen Kennedy, that everyone is becoming female and lesbian and more diverse. And the Disney theme of it is strong here. I mean, even the intro, the South Park intro, was like mimicking the Disney castle and logo and all of that. So yeah, strong Disney thing. Iger gets his, Kathleen Kennedy, obviously. And Chato, you said to begin with here that you thought this was a little bit too much inside baseball. I don't know that that's true anymore. I think it's becoming very, very public knowledge that Star Wars is dead, and it sucks because of Kathleen Kennedy and because it's all about female. Star Wars right now is a franchise that it's no longer a boys franchise. Boys aren't welcome to it. There's no point in any of us watching it anymore because Star Trek isn't for us.
Well, Star Wars, you mean, not
Star
Trek.
Wars. Star
But
Wars
that
isn't
too.
for us.
I actually thought that the Disney part of the episode could have been way better. I would have had Iger at least at the beginning ignoring the problems. At the very beginning of this episode, he was acknowledging the problems and then dealing with this weird Kathleen Kennedy substitute. But you know, at the very beginning, they could have had fun walking through Disney World, and the every single female character would have, would have been a trans man with a beard, trans woman with a beard.
Well,
right?
this is where I felt like, oh, sorry, I was just going to say, I felt like they gave Kathy a bit of a break because, like you said at the end, same kind of thing. It's like she started this shit, even though they try to blame it partially on Cartman. It's like, no. You're forgetting the fact that she put a self-insert in The Force Awakens to begin with, guys. And you were some of the first ones to call that shit out.
Well, so they did kind of say it. They said she over-relied on this stone, and then it exploded and backfired. She did that.
She claimed she only used it because she got all those letters calling her a see you next Tuesday. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make, that's the part that bothered me. And I was waiting for at the very end for there to be a twist where Kathy fucking turns on everybody because this has been her whole plan from the fucking start, which would have made more sense. But that's what I was trying to say about
from a Kathleen Kennedy perspective. I think you're correct, but I think there could have been more parody of the problems that Disney itself found themselves in, independent of Kathleen Kennedy. I think they missed a huge opportunity to really, really lace into the entire Disney.
And that's where I think Andre was curious about too, because he asked me about, because he didn't see it first, I did. And he asked me about the Marvel stuff. I'm like, no, they really kind of ignore Marvel outside of the show, basically being a parody of, like a Doctor Strange type story. Right. Yeah. Like that's the closest. They don't mention Marvel at all, which is funky, especially after this season when they had the major, they already went after Marvel for one. That may be why.
Oh, okay.
Because they did during this last season when Randy had his major like blow up on Marvel. But yeah.
Yeah, I think they could have had more fun with Disney, and the script is right. I think the handyman stuff was way funnier. And since I'm a handyman, and since my son's a mechanic, and I taught my daughter how to be a handy person against her will, and now because her husband is utterly useless at home from a handy person perspective, she's fixing things just to stick it to him.
The Home Depot gag with all the employed college guys. That was pure South Park chef's kiss.
Oh, that was absolutely fantastic. I mean, we fixed our 20-year-old dryer and washer ourselves, and people were wondering, what the hell are you doing? So I don't know. Yeah. We're waiting for the apocalypse. Yeah, there's but also there's the problem where stuff is being made that can't be fixed, which they didn't cover. I don't necessarily, I'm not telling you.
This is true, because there was a time when most things being made were made to last. Whereas now they're made with built-in obsolescence. You're not made to fix them.
TVs are a great example.
For instance, TVs, all kinds of electronics is made to break down.
Yeah, for sure.
You will have to buy.
But yeah, you got a stereo from 1976 that works fine. You know.
Well, my parents, they still have their very first microwave from like 1988 or something.
Well, that's because those were built like tanks, man.
You know what, Andre? I would suggest that you put a cell phone into your parents' microwave and try to call it. If it rings,
fix it.
No, you have to get rid of that microwave, because that just shows the amount of radiation it's expelling whenever they're cooking with it.
That could very well be.
That could be
one of the problems with the old microwave.
Well, Andre's fine. He's got kids, so he's not sterile. So
he's cooked, man.
He's fine. He's fine.
So I love the episode, but from a wider audience perspective, I do see what you mean by some of the inside baseball with Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, because I was laughing, cackling my ass off, and my only issue I had with it was at the end. And I get it; part of it was kind of a clap back at us, but it's at the same time, it's like, no, I'm not so sure you guys really are paying attention to even things you guys have said in the past. And that's where I agree with Andre and what you said about they should have went after Marvel as well in this situation, and the rest of Disney as a whole. And I thought that's where they were headed. There's some brilliant stuff in here. And the Pandaverse business I thought was great, because it all is exactly what, it makes the exact point we've all been trying to make, and shows how absurd and stupid this is and lazy it is. And that was clearly the whole point. Same side corresponding with, Randy's story with, and I talk about this all the time about how my kid's lazy and don't know how to do nothing. I'm just as bad too in certain respects. Yes. But at least I will know how to make the effort. And that's what they're showing with the Randy thing, right? Like, I get it. I totally got that joke, and it's a great story. And you're right, that may resonate with more people than the Kathleen Kennedy bit, because there's only going to be so many people that are going to know about it. But I'll tell you what, I posted that clip last night, and it has taken off on my Twitter. People couldn't even believe it was real.
I thought the one gag that they missed is that the wife complaining about it, the stove door not being fixed. If she had fixed it, I thought that would have been a really nice bit, where she just got so tired she picked up the screwdriver and did it herself.
But I think that's part of the point of the episode too.
But also,
like, you're right. There's a lot of stuff they could have done. But I'm surprised it wasn't going to be a setup for a two-parter.
But with the Loki tech babble, they need that thing to be broken for fixing the Pandaverse later on. But anyway, Paul, I think you're completely right in that this episode, honestly, they should have released this like 2-3 years ago, when it was more about Kathleen Kennedy. Now it goes beyond Kathleen Kennedy.
Yes, you're right.
As you said, they completely missed going into Disney parks, where you now basically have like male fairies going and helping the audience with their ultra feminine voices and mustaches and stuff like that. And to say nothing about Marvel and Bob Iger, here he comes across as a hapless victim of Kathleen Kennedy. But he's the main driver for all of this. But still, I gotta be curious. Script, how do you think this episode is going to be received inside of the offices of Disney and Lucasfilm? How do you think Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger, what their faces are going to be like when they see this? I would love to see their faces be a fly on the wall as they watch this episode.
I don't think they're going to watch it. I think there's probably an unofficial mandate saying nobody talk about this episode in the Disney offices or around any of the participants involved. It doesn't exist. I like the fact that Paramount produced this one, because this is kind of like Paramount's little screw you for buying our Marvel property, and then and by way of Matt and Trey Parker, because it's again it's part of the what could have been, right?
All the more reason why they should have gone after Marvel harder.
Well, they may, yeah, because people are saying this might be a two-parter, I guess, from what I'm seeing in the chat. Because they didn't do the to be continued like they did with the other event things, so I'm curious about that. And it seemed like this had an ending to it.
Well, that oven door still hasn't been fixed.
That's true.
And I mean, the multiverse part of Randy going through it, and the only thing changing about him is his attire.
That's true too. He may be a completely different Randy. That's true.
Yeah. No, I think they definitely. I think they wanted to keep it simple and focus primarily on the Kathleen Kennedy part. I think as part of taking a dig at the core of the fandom that blames her for the handling of Star Wars, which I think is fair game. I thought the joke that somehow Cartman managed to send 12,000 hate letters a day to Kathleen Kennedy is pure Cartman. The problem, because they missed opportunities where Iger could constantly be hiding in his office shower.
Yeah.
Like that would have been,
or he could be hiding as a mascot at Disney World.
Yeah.
Well, part of me wonders when they actually did this, because that's the thing. Some of these specials that are not as timely-ish, they will work on throughout the year when they're doing other stuff.
But we knew there were problems with the hotel. The problem I had with this episode with the Disney part is we didn't see the results of Kathleen's efforts. So we didn't go to the hotel and see that it's a piece of shit. We didn't like they did the Bambi thing, but that's not as good as, maybe going to a screening of Indiana Jones and there's only one person in the theater. Like they didn't show the effect of her leadership. They just talked about it. That to me is not funny.
Well, here's the thing, and this is where I feel like they should have probably tied it in more with some of their earlier episodes, because especially for people like maybe you who haven't watched any of the ones for the last few years. I don't know if you do or not. Yeah, see, like they have been going after Disney for a while now.
Okay.
And this could have been, because they even have Mickey's picture in the background of him looking all depressed and pissed off or whatever. Like they've had like this whole ongoing thing. Like they sent Randy to China to kill Winnie the Pooh, for instance, and all this other shit. Like this is a long ongoing thing with Disney and South Park. In fact, I wasn't even sure if they were going to directly go after Disney in this episode. I thought they were going to take on Hollywood in general. The fact that they did go so hardcore on Disney kind of surprised me.
It doesn't surprise me, because
it does, but it doesn't. It's like in a way that I thought they would spread it out a little bit more.
Yeah, because Disney right now, they are the main purveyors of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Everyone else, they're either mostly over it or they were never that hardcore. But when you look back at all of the worst, wokest movies, especially in the last couple of years, 9 and 10 are Disney movies.
Yeah. But again, like, I mean, I wonder, because like I said, there's like a series of episodes where they've done almost that kind of lead up to this, and I'm surprised they didn't tie in back more with them. Because they have had basically Mickey as a villain for a while now and all this other stuff. And he didn't even show up in this episode. So I'm curious if there is more to this. And I was very surprised at the end that the twist wasn't that Kathleen Kennedy had planned this thing all along. Because it seemed very obvious, and maybe that it could be your scripter could be right, and in that that's the twist, or maybe it was you that said it, Paul. But because I don't have a problem with them necessarily going after us per se, because you're right, we're fair game, and you're right. In some cases, we do blame Kathleen Kennedy too goddamn much for everything over there. I mean, not personally. I of course have definitely gone after.
We should blame her for everything that happens with Lucasfilm.
But you're right. They also went soft on fucking Bob Iger. He got off light in this episode, big time, and that's where I feel like if we're gonna hold anything to task, it's like, okay, is there gonna be more to this that we see in the next episode, or are they just gonna be? Are they too afraid of Bob Iger? Is that the only person in Hollywood they're really afraid of?
I did like how they addressed the Disney share price pummeling, though. Which means that
that was the clip I posted. Yeah,
I mean, it has to be like less than less than 6 months old. This thing here, because that's like in the last few months that the
Well, that's what I mean. They were, and they
really has pummeled.
And they can change things at the last minute, but usually these more elaborate episodes in the past, these are the ones that they share for or save for like specials or times when they don't have an episode ready or whatever. So then they can just, or like a big season event, so they can work on them longer is usually what they do. And that's kind of what these specials are basically. Yeah, I don't know if we should show any clips or not, but that's up to you.
Let's not give them any excuses. Take us down.
Just go watch it,
or yeah, you can load.
What was that? Out there in the chat. If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, WDW Pro is there in the chat saying South Park was the funniest thing I've seen in years. Yeah, if you have the time to,
he's got the link
in and join us, then feel free. But yeah, it was a very astute episode. And Bass Player 2011 IFE says for $4.99, this is part 1. They're far from done. And there are rumors going around that they're going to hit Disney hard when Mickey becomes public next year.
Mm. Yeah. Well, they've already hit him pretty hard.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised of how hard, but still, Chato. Yeah, well, Chato, you were completely right that there were many lesbian women, and again, none of us really have any business watching Star Wars anymore because it wasn't made for us. Kathleen Kennedy saw to that, and yeah, she deserves all the flack in the same route, and that is what they really needed to hit hard. This is why, like, this was out like 2 years too late in a sense.
And I think they just thinking about it now, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. I think there's a corporate responsibility angle that they missed. That the blaming Kathleen Kennedy could have been the excuse for Iger as he walks through Disney World that's got tumbleweeds going through it, and all the mistakes that really it's about management. It's not Kathleen on her own, but to visit all of Iger's mistakes, and then the board decides that it's all Kathleen's fault, actually might have been a better angle. I think, just thinking
maybe that's where, if they are doing a second half of this, maybe that's where it's going to go. Because I'm curious now, because I'm thinking about it. And I'm looking back now, every one of these specials has been pretty much a 2-part special.
Oh, okay. The
COVID one, the vaccine one, and then the Streaming Wars one. So they've all been 2-part from my memory. So maybe it is, even though they didn't say to be continued at the end. Because it did feel like something, like, even though it wrapped up, it's like, wait a minute here. Like, that's what I was saying, is like, you let Kathy off too late, and you sure as hell didn't go after Bob at all.
The corporate angle is actually the more correct one.
Right.
Going after Kathleen on her own is actually very childish.
Well, and that's what the whole episode is kind of about, Paul, really.
I give them credit. I give them credit for that, but they should have nailed the Disney corporate responsibility side of it way harder.
True, but it's like almost like they have listened to us, because I've even made the joke in the past about, you know, all these great people like, you know, Tim Burton, Michael Jackson, that were changed with aliens that look just like him except for Michael. And I said, maybe Kathy's among those people. I've made that joke before. So it's almost like, I'm not saying they listened and stole the idea, but I'm just saying it's not like it's out of the realm of possibility. Maybe there's going to be more to this, though. I'm curious, because I'm almost wanting to go back now and just watch the episodes that have to do with Disney and see how much they've actually led up to this point. Because it all started with the Chinese stuff, right? When they were pandering to China.
Right,
and that
right.
was back
I do remember that.
What, 2014 or so that started-ish?
The basketball.
Yeah.
They did an NBA episode, too.
Yeah, they've done quite a few leading up to this. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not so sure they're done with this either yet. So I'm not going to prejudge on that yet.
The caricatures of Iger and Kathleen Turner with Kathleen
I laugh so hard at Kathleen Kennedy's. I'm going to use that from now on every fucking opportunity I get.
You know what? Considering the style that they use, they were shockingly good caricatures.
Oh, they do usually pretty good. I've always used the JJ one they did too. I love that.
But anyways, yeah, we'll see. I thought there were some pretty good belly laughs for me, but most of them came from the fix it yourself stuff.
Sorry, the multiverse angle to replace Kathleen Kennedy instead of the alien angle, I think tied well into their commentary on how
Obviously.
lazy multiverses were.
I love that too. Yeah, that was
which
good.
Great.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, script, I agree completely. I mean, that's where they really stuck it to Marvel, that the entire multiverse sucks. It's a bad idea, it gets old, and it's terribly executed, especially the way that Marvel has done it. I mean, we just discussed Loki, and as you pointed out, script, like in all 4 episodes should have been like a 10-minute pre-roll segment, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
wasn't it great how that Loki pruning himself paid off when we all knew that was kind of what he did at the first episode and was just wasted.
Yeah.
I'm guessing we'll do like some Get Back to the Future stuff like that in the in the upcoming episodes.
I groaned at that Back to the Future joke where Obi makes the model of the office room and he's like, I didn't have time to make it to scale and I can only do 1 paint job. I'm like, you're stealing from Bob and Gale and Bob Zemeckis, like, and you're not even trying to hide it. That's lazy. That throws right into the Pandaverse.
Yeah, well, that's kind of goes with the whole Kathleen Kennedy bit, and you're right, like the whole idea of her being replaced, because like all of us said that when we first started realizing that this was going down the bad road. We're like, wait a minute, this is the chick that worked with Steven Spielberg for the last 20, 30 years. She's the one who's produced all these movies. Why is she having such a hard time getting this shit together? Right? Like that was one of the first things we all said. It was like, it was almost like it was a completely alternate universe. It's like, what is going on here?
Well,
you know,
to me, the best part of Loki is its art. It's it's art design, and that's all been stolen from Fallout.
Exactly.
I'm surprised they didn't go with the joke that the Prestige angle, because Kathleen Kennedy has a twin sister that looks identical to her.
True.
And what if the horrifying secret is that the real Kathleen Kennedy is sick and unable to function, so her sister stepped into her place and is trying to do the job while she...
Potent these writers are, because you just did it better than them. I mean, that actually would have been better than any kind of multiverse.
I will say actors in this. I really, really enjoyed the diverse version of all the characters.
Yeah, that was fun.
I like how the boys finally were like, yeah, that's Cartman, because she farted on Kenny's face.
And I actually like that, you know, the lesbian turn on Kenny, right? I mean,
yeah, that was obvious but funny.
But it actually felt more realistic and holistic than all the fake swaps that they've done recently.
Because they probably put more thought into those than most of them do. That's why.
But it was also really straightforward. I like her tits. Like there was no fudging, you know, how you're supposed to be a lesbian. They just went for it.
Well, and I think this is the beauty of Train
really cool.
Not being a part of Hollywood so much, right? Like they don't buy into the bullshit and they can look at it from an outside perspective. And I think I'm hoping there's a second part to this, because I feel like there's stuff missing, because I agree with you that there needs to be more to this. And there's a whole nother level of this we haven't gotten to yet, of accountability on Disney's behalf. And if it's true there's a second part and they're going even harder at Disney, good. I say good. Because I'm glad to see it. We already know what they're doing with their $1 billion. Did you hear about this, Andre?
No.
Trey already spent the $1 billion. He got an $800 loan for Casa Bonita.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. Like they did not buy Casa Bonita or something like that.
They already bought it, but now he got an $800 million loan. So for I don't know if they're going to open a bunch of new. To me, that sounds like you're going to open a bunch of new locations.
Yeah, it better be, because if you spend that in one location, that's pretty insane.
No, I don't see that. What they'll probably do is open up like one in LA, one in New York, one in probably Miami, maybe Chicago, something like that. And then they'll probably deck them all out with South Park stuff. And probably basically it'll be like South Park, the restaurant resort type place.
I can see that. I mean, hell, I'll go there. Yeah, I'll go there.
Because otherwise, why the hell would you get $800 million loan for that? You're right. Not just for one location.
Yeah, no, I'd go to like the Planet Hollywood of South Park. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What is Casa Bonita? Well, Casa Bonita, Joey, is Mexican themed restaurant that has basically a bunch of water slides, an amusement park, all that kind of stuff inside. Think it's like think about it as like Chuck E. Cheese on steroids. They actually have done, I think, a couple episodes now revolving around Casa Bonita on South Park. And the first time they did it, people couldn't even believe that place existed, but it was real. And they were in some financial trouble, and Trey Parker swooped in and bought them a couple years back. And now it looks like he's about to expand, I'd imagine. So yeah, that's the skinny on that. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to more South Park. This last season has been great. If you guys haven't caught up on it, I do suggest you do that.
This clip was taken from Midnight's Edge in the Morning, which streams live every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 9 AM Pacific Time on the Midnight's Edge main channel. There you can send in your live questions and comments before clips and full stream replays are uploaded to Midnight's Edge live archives. We are also on Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey and Facebook, so smash that like, help share, subscribe and join us.